Miles Sanders or Travis Etienne? Who's the better pick? Who has the higher tournament winning upside if we go wide receiver heavy early? Let's find out. Kicking it off with Miles Sanders. His ADP on Underdog right now is 49.7, which puts him as an early 4th round pick. He was 15th in rushing, despite only playing 12 games in 2020. Now, his yards per carry were really high. He had 5.3 yards per carry last season, which is a really high mark, which is good for top 10 in the NFL. So he was very efficient on the ground. You got to give him credit. And that mark may be something that's not necessarily reasonable to predict. You know, I mean, if you project Miles Sanders to have 5.3 yards per carry, he probably projects really well. But I would say probably somewhere in the 4 yard per carry range is a more likely outcome for him. And that regression leads me into my next point, is that he's just struggled in the passing game. He only caught 54% of his targets in 2020. You know, if he's going to hit his ceiling, he's going to need to catch his targets. And his target share was really high last season. He had 12.29% target share last season. That's pretty remarkable. That's some elite stuff right there. And just the thing is, he's got to bring in those targets. Of running backs with over 12% market share last season, Miles Sanders is the only running back to get under 3 receptions per game. That's pretty alarming to me, and we're already seeing out of camp that he's struggling in the passing game again. So if he's going to be a guy that's going to struggle to catch passes out the backfield, I think it's probably likely that Philadelphia either just lets Jalen Hurts run it more, get those yards, or they find a running back who can get the job done out of the passing game, and just have Miles Sanders in there for the rushing attack. And if he's only in there for the rushing attack, Miles Sanders' ceiling really goes down exponentially, because that's just less opportunity that goes to Miles Sanders, and then that probably gives more opportunity to a Boston Scott or Kenny Gainwell in the later rounds. So Miles Sanders needs to catch the football if he's going to hit his ceiling, and it's likely that other running backs that have a lower ADP than him are going to catch the football a lot better than he is. Travis Etienne, he's going at the 54th pick in Underdog drafts, which is good for the middle of the 4th round. So he's just going a few picks after Miles Sanders, a little bit of more value there. 12.2% target share at Clemson in 2020. He's a guy that's improved every single season in the receiving game, and it's really paid dividends. And really over 10% for a college running back is pretty good, and he looks like a polished, receiving running back coming out of college. So that's really good news for Travis Etienne in this offense. First round draft pick. We don't see running backs that often as first round draft picks, and if you're gonna use that high draft capital on a running back, he's gonna be a guy in your offense. Like the Steelers drafted Najee Harris this year. He's going to be their lead back. Last year, the Chiefs drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's going to be their lead back. 2019, the Raiders drafted Josh Jacobs. He's going to be the lead back. So I just don't see how you draft a running back in the first round. He's not your guy. And that really leads me to believe that James Robinson is taking a much smaller role for the Jaguars in 2021. James Robinson had 79% of the running back carries last year. You got to think that goes down to at least a 50-50 split. And if Travis Etienne is getting 50% of the carries, he looks really good. James Robinson had 240 carries last season. That's a really high number. And the next highest running back on the Jags last season in carries was 32. And then you got Chris Thompson coming in at 7. So really, there was no competition for James Robinson last season, which gave him pretty much all the touches he could handle. And with Travis Etienne coming in, you got to think that if not most of that workload is gone, at least half of it is. So, that looks really good for Travis Etienne. And James Robinson last year, he got almost 12% of the market share for the targets. So, Travis Etienne is coming in as a guy that excels in the receiving game and already has the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. You got to think his market share is going to be pretty high, and James Robinson's role in the receiving game goes down a lot. I don't really think it's crazy to think that Travis Etienne comes in and he's getting 6 targets a game. And we know how explosive he is. He looks really good in the open field. He's an explosive guy. He's going to be a guy that excels in open space. And I think the Jags are going to want to get Travis Etienne the ball as often as they can in open space and let him do his work. And if I can get Travis Etienne, even a few picks after Miles Sanders, I'm probably going to take that more often than not. And I have much more exposure to Travis Etienne and Underdog right now than I do with Miles Sanders, because it just feels like Travis Etienne can develop into a better role than Miles Sanders. We already know that Miles Sanders struggles in the passing game, and Travis Etienne's already good at it, and he's just coming into the league. And with the high tempo offense that the Jags are running, with their defense giving up a ton of points, it just really just points to Travis Etienne getting a lot of those dump off targets, just racking up the 0.5 PPR points. And he just looks like a guy that's going to be featured in the offense. And if he develops into the lead back during the playoff weeks, Travis Etienne might end up being RB1. All it takes is for him to get his targets, produce those targets into receptions. And all it's going to take is for him to get his 6 targets, produce those targets into receptions, and then capitalizing in the open field and finding the end zone for you to really excel in your wide receiver heavy builds. So Travis Etienne is a guy that I see a great avenue for success, and he's one of my highest owned running backs right now on Underdog. If you went on to enjoy this video, make sure you slap a like, subscribe to this channel. We're going to be banging on NFL content all season long. You're not going to want to miss it. And make sure you tune into the 1 p.m. Eastern NFL DFS streams, where Donuts is going to be taking a look at past NFL slates and seeing what works with our projections. And the results are pretty good. So, if you want more from me, you can follow me on Twitter at TeamADFS. And I'll catch you next time.